Welcome home, all. It's Thursday, the 14th of May. Welcome back. Welcome home. And got a couple quick items. I wanted to start off with this. I just saw this right before we clicked on here and hit our stream. Javier Becerra, and for those of you that have been with me for a little bit, know that and I'll reiterate the point. He's the guy that I believe gave us the best option going back to last year when everybody started announcing and coming out. And back to that point, I think I said this on the Tuesday, he was like at 4 or 5%. And I just did some digging, looked at all the possibilities, looked at all the options, looked at all the people that were going to run. And I just think he's the best option at that point. And clearly, and the reason I'm bringing it up, because I think we're there kind of at this point. I'm really optimistic that he makes it past the primary. And I believe that if he wins the primary, he will win the general. I've said that, and I believe it. If he gets past the primary, obviously. So in the most recent Emerson College poll, he's now at 19%. He was in a dead heat tie with Steve Hilton, the Republican, one of the Republican candidates. And so he's separated a little bit from Hilton. He's now at 19%, and Hilton is at 17. So he's pulled a little bit as we head into the last, handful of weeks. 2.5 weeks before the June 2nd primary for California. So I'm optimistic. I feel good about where he's at. I feel that enough people are talking and adequately strategizing and formulating a plan so that, like what Democrats mostly do, which is not the brightest, not the smartest, but they do it, is scatter and diversify their vote and their voice amongst multiple. And then that leaves opening for, well, I'll say this line, I repeated it yesterday, the old line of Democrats have to fall in love, Republicans fall in line. And that, every once in a while that is good for Democrats because you get somebody really good and you fall in love with them and maybe they go and they've got some charisma or some ability. The two most notable examples, obviously, recently or in the past window of presidents is clearly like Bill Clinton and then Obama. The Democratic Party, the Democrats in general, fell in love with their candidate, and they went on to victory. Republicans, again, fall in line. They don't have to fall in love. They're much more pragmatic about that, and I do believe the Democrats, should take some note of that. That is one thing I do like about the Republican approach, at least the old approach, is that they lined up behind a person, almost always a white guy, by the way. That's like uniform. But they line up behind one person and then they stick with them and they don't deviate. And that's even the case for today with Trump, where they won't deviate or budge no matter what. And I'll get into that a little bit later, but doesn't matter what Trump does. He did say he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any support. He can protect pedophiles and sex traffickers and he won't lose support. That's the problem with falling in line, by the way. So anyway, I'm even-handed about it. I believe that it needs to be a little bit of both. So with regard to Becerra, I do think I don't need to fall in love with Javier Becerra. I'm practical in that way about it. That is my conservative tendency. I don't get too far over the skis. I don't jump for joy. I don't get super excited about a candidate or a political person, politician, or president. And because of that, I'm able to see clear-eyed and simple with what is best long-term and in short, and what we can get out of that person that benefits the whole, meaning all of us, not just a specific group or subgroup or a party, for everybody. Who's best for all of us? So just pay attention to that. Again, we're under 3 weeks now before the June 2nd primary. If you haven't registered to vote, make sure you do so. Or if you haven't already, do so. Ballots are out already. Some people are already voting. Not everybody has voted. Some people wait. Some people, like me, they don't vote by mail-in ballot. I go to the polls. I think I've said that already. I prefer going to a poll. I just see it as that's the least I can do. The earliest Americans in this country were new to voting. They didn't know what it was. It was new to them. It was like novel in all the right ways. and they walked to a poll. They got up and they went with thought and energy to go vote, right? I like that. I like that. I'm not making it sound like it's perfect, but you get the point. They made an effort. They valued, and I'm going to guess this, and I'm going to say this adequately. I'm going to guess that the first Americans that had the right to vote for a president, like George Washington, and then John Adams, and then definitely like the John Adams and Thomas Jefferson election, after Adams had served for one term, and then he loses to Jefferson, and Jefferson becomes the third president of the United States. That was actually a contested race, probably the most contested up to that point. There really hadn't been, with Washington, we knew he was it, kind of, and with Adams, he was going to be it, and then Jefferson inserted, and then there was a little bit of competition between different factions. That's what they were called at the beginning, not parties, but factions at the beginning of the country. You had different wings of Americans, and there was interest. So back to my point here is we do need to not take that for granted and value our vote. As I said last show, the right to vote is what you are entitled to, your right to vote or not. But in this case, I think we're seeing Becerra begin to surge. I think he's going to start to pull away, if not by a lot, because there's so many candidates. I think he pulls away enough to where he gets either the primary win or he's top two. And I don't care if he's top two or one, he will win, I believe, in the fall, if he just makes it past the primary. I really believe that. If I'm wrong, so be it. Been wrong before, but generally, if I come out heavy on something, it's probably because I'm pretty right about it. And I don't come out heavy about everything. Just know what you know, right? So anyway, so Becerra's up, and I want to bring that point up because I'm telling my friends, my family, the people that trust me and my opinion. Again, I don't put an effort or time or energy into anyone unless I know and I've read, studied, vetted, and made my decision based on good fact and information. So that's where we are. And if for those just generic, I just don't think Becerra makes big mistakes. Okay, big, stupid mistakes. He's pretty much vanilla that way, and I'm okay with that. And that's kind of what we need right now. I really do believe that. I don't need a rock star. I need somebody who's going to get the job done more than anything else. I don't need someone with a lot of energy and a lot of attention and seeking attention, for that matter, by the way. He's not that type. Doesn't strike me as that by any means. He just seems like a, down the center, straight-laced kind of, I'm going to do this. He's got his principles, on things, right? And maybe I don't agree with all of them. Maybe I do. But he's just kind of straight-laced, and I prefer that. That's what I think we need right now. Anyway, so Becerra pulls up ahead, 19% in the latest Emerson College poll. He's now pulled away from Steve Hilton, the Republican candidate. And if it ends up being those two for sure, it's going to be Becerra. The only, I don't know if Steyer, who's third, I want to say at 15%, right behind Hilton. It's not very far, by the way, within the margin. Okay, they're within the margin, all of them, within the margin at the top. Steyer's third. And if Steyer were to beat out Hilton and it ends up being Becerra and Steyer, I don't know. I still think Becerra wins, but I think it may be more of a challenge if it's the two Democrats as opposed to the Democrat and the Republican. Meaning, I think it might be a more open and highly contested race. Like, it might be close. I do. I think if Becerra wins the primary and Hilton's with him, I think Becerra beats up Hilton in the fall. But I don't know if I'd say that if it were Steyer. I don't think it would be the case. I think it might actually be close if it's the two Democrats. We'll see. Anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where I've been. Vote often. I'm not telling you how to vote, but that's my opinion. That's my decision on this. As I've said before, I don't tell you what to do. I'll tell you if it's fact. I'll tell you if it's my opinion. In this case, it's my opinion. I don't know factually that Becerra will win, but I believe he will. That's my opinion. There you go. Okay, down to business. As per title, I've been wanting to kind of do this particular episode of the stream for a while. And this thing can be a course of 18 weeks by itself. Yeah, I said a course, right? A course of classes over 18 weeks because it's that significant. The historicity of it is like deep, profound, and long-term chronologically because of what we're talking about, what country we're talking about, China, right? I did listen to, and I'm bringing it up because of, apparently, we're on a state visit to China, Trump and all the billionaire buddies of his, and, they're being treated and, feted and made to feel good because of the attention, the pomp, circumstance, et cetera. Getting tired of the pomp and circumstance. I think people use that over way too much now. But they're there. Our country is there officially in the form of numbnuts and his rich crew that don't look like me or you and don't represent me or you, but they're there. So this thing, let me start with this. What China has been doing now, what their plan has been, at least under Xi, who's been there quite a bit now, multiple terms, and he'll probably be there till he's dead, done, but multiple terms, and he's outlasted, more than a few of our presidents because they can stay longer. Autocracies, dictatorships, et cetera, can last longer. They don't have to, they may have to like go through the motions of a vote, but it's not really a vote, a la, Putin. Putin's been there in power for, 2 decades. He goes through the motions of a vote, but it's not really a vote. Everybody knows he's still going to win. Everybody knows he's going to be back in power. She's been there long enough. She has a plan, and she has a long-term objective that is going to wait us out and wear us out in many ways. What China has been doing globally is what concerns me most. They're not in wars, generally speaking. They don't go pick fights for no reason, a la Donald Trump in Iran. They don't pick fights just to prove they can win. They just build and they grow. Now, on record, let's get some data out there. So for the longest time, China was known as the largest country in the world by population. One of the largest geographically, by the way. Russia was always bigger. USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics first, then Russia, still the biggest. But China is one of the biggest countries on the planet geographically. And it was, for the longest time, decades, the largest country in the world by population. That title has been ceded over to India, which is now more. I don't know exact numbers. No one really does. But in essence, China is roughly around 1.4 billion people. And India is a little more than that, maybe 1.5, 1.6, without, knowing specifically or precisely. But India is a little bit bigger by population. So that's human capital. That is people. 1.4 billion. United States, we're nowhere near that. So in essence, they are 3, 4, 5 times larger than we are. We are, and again, it always depends on census, but we haven't had a census, or we're right mid-year or mid-census, obviously, because a census is done every 10-year window. Let's see what this says. I don't do this too often, but what is U.S. population? See what it gives us. 349 million. Third most populous in the world behind India and China, as I stated earlier. So 349 million people. So not quite 5, but 3 to 4 times as large as the United States in population. They have more people than we do. I have mentioned before in prior episodes, they do have a larger standing army than we do. Their military is not as advanced and as potent and lethal as ours. Those are facts. But they are rapidly catching up. And they're doing everything they can to reach that level of lethality and potency as a military. And they have a larger standing army. So I'm using all that as data points, right? but they're not getting into wars. They're not expending human capital. They're not dying. They're not expending money or energy or resources from the country all over the globe without benefit or without a return on that investment. So they've been doing things, for instance, in Africa and other parts of the world to help or to ingratiate themselves or to involve themselves, insert themselves into other countries and other countries and their economies. So they'll spend money, loans, infrastructure projects, medical assistance, etc., all over the globe. And as the title suggests on the title of this particular episode, the United States in many ways has wandered into, in a drunken sailor way, into regression because of the push in our country. And then this is a mantra, and it has been, and it has gotten people elected. Why are we spending money in other countries? We should be spending it on our own people. I've actually kind of gone over this. It will take too long to do so now. I won't do it today, tonight, or in this particular case. Just suffice to say that what we have done, or what we did do after World War II and up until now, or at least recently, into the 21st century, we spent money, time, energy, effort, and resources in other countries, and including militarily, by the way, including military. Korean War right after World War II, Vietnam later, Panama to a degree, and then, of course, our almost, I'll say almost an obligatory, if not mandatory, belief that we needed to insert ourselves in the Middle East in a variety of ways. The first Persian Gulf War, in which I was in service at the time, United States Army, military, infantry, first ID, and then in the desert in general, Iraq and Afghanistan for another 20 years after that. I'll say this, Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, and I'll say it, of course, it was a messy pullout. We lost some lives, but he did pull us out and got us out of that war. There are no more Americans dying that way in Afghanistan. And now we're back in it because numbnuts wanted to, take attention away from the Epstein files. It's getting a little hot. Still there, by the way. We'll get to that in the back end of this show. But we are involved. We are spending money. And we have been doing that for a long time. China's been doing it in a very subtle, very nuanced, very savvy, and intelligent way. They're doing it without losing a lot. And they're gaining a lot in investment and reinvestment from the countries and other peoples that they are involving themselves with or helping. And those are facts. Again, I guess maybe at some point we can do that, just specifically a China show, right? Not doing that tonight. I'm just bringing this up because we're on a state visit to China today and over the next handful of days. But it's all there. There's been documentation and a lot said and written about China's growth all over the globe. As we speak tonight, as I speak to you tonight, China and its tankers are moving freely through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, even though the United States has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, supposedly, meaning Donald Trump and his numbnut approach to war. Dumbest son of a bitch to ever sit in the Oval Office conducting a war. Not even close. Dumbest son of a bitch ever. Okay, so we close the Strait of Hormuz so that we blockade and Iran can't get make any money off of tankers coming for their oil and trade. But China just sails right through, and we don't do a damn thing about it because would Donald Trump want to pick a fight with someone that could actually fight back? No, because Donald Trump's a bitch, and bitches don't pick fights with people that can kick their ass or fight back. Now, I don't think China can kick our ass, but it would be ugly, and we'd lose people. And Donald Trump's not that guy. He's a bitch. He doesn't pick fights. He lets others. No, take that back. Let me reiterate. Let me rephrase that, reform it. Donald Trump does pick fights. He just doesn't do the fighting. And in where I come from and where I was raised, that's the biggest bitch on the planet. You're fine with starting fights when you know you don't have to start it and finish it. So China's running through, and it's already been, this is all documented already. It's already out there. They have already gone through the Strait of Hormuz and are trading and conducting, energy trade with oil, et cetera, with Iran. So they're just going right through. So China's everywhere, and that's my larger point, okay? China's everywhere, and they're growing. They're not fighting. They're not expending resources. They're not losing lives. They're making money. They're gaining market, and we are not. We're regressing. We're pulling away from our allies in Europe. We all know that. And the next guy that asked me, what good is NATO? I'm going to intellectually backhand you and tell you to go back to high school and learn some goddamn history. Because if not for NATO, we would already have seen a World War III. And if we were here, right? I think we would be, but it would be a different world. If not for that alliance, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and its stalwart defense of the West against the East in the form of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and its allies. So we're pulling back. We're not helping. We're losing friends. And I've said this is some street shit right here. I'd rather have more friends than enemies. Because when I walk into that alley to go home and that dude's there is going to whoop my ass, I'd like to have one of my cousins with me. An older guy picking on me. True story, by the way. True stuff. I used to come home from a school. This was 5th grade. And every day I had to go through that alley to get back to my house. If not, I'd have to walk around another mile or two. And for a little kid, that's a big deal. And then I'd have to walk across and get into somebody else's patio, and then I'd get my ass whooped there. But I had to go through that alley. There was a dude there. Still remember his name. It won't matter because I'm not outing him. I don't even know if the guy's around anymore. His name is Ramiro. And he used to beat my ass every time I came home, after school through that alley. And let's just say I got tired of the ass whooping. The guy was older than me. I was in 5th grade. I think he was in middle school. So he'd wait for me there. He'd either take my money if I had any money, and he would tell me to, not eat lunch and give me his money, or he'd kick my ass. And I took a lot of ass whoopings. And toward the back end of that year, I got a couple cousins to come with me. And let's just say we whooped that ass in return. Because you need help. Sometimes you need friends, you need allies. The United States is the most powerful country on the planet, economically and militarily, in all capacities. I do not think there is one country on this planet that can go toe-to-toe with us, one-on-one. But I'm going to say this, and it quite literally is how we've built this country and how we've gotten to the position that we're in right now as the most powerful country on the planet. We got here because we have had a succession of presidents, Republican and Democrat, over many, many years that have understood, at least in the post-World War period, into the Cold War era, and post-Cold War era for that matter. My time, I'm a Cold War vet, Cold Warrior, up into the 90s and the beginning of the Persian Gulf. That is post-Cold War, after the fall of the Berlin Wall and after the dissolution of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics into its satellite states and countries that have in some way or form tried to democratize and become democracies, with Russia doing its own thing, et cetera, Putin. Okay, so here we are. And China has continued to grow, and we are regressing that way. We are turning away our allies. We think that on our own we can do whatever the hell we want, because one-on-one, there is no country that can stand with us. But as you scale up, as you scale in severity or seriousness of another country or people's military, and for instance, i.e., you've got Iran, their military cannot contend with ours. As numbnuts President one said, we've obliterated them, even though we haven't obliterated them. We have bombed the hell out of them. We've killed women and children. I'll say it. And if that piece of shit were to say something or hear something from me about it and say it's treason to say anything negative about what we're doing, I will say it again, because that's my free speech right. That is the First Amendment enshrined in our Constitution and a fundamental founding principle upon which this country and its people were founded. We are killing women and children for no goddamn good reason. And I don't give a shit if they're on the other side of the world, or they don't look like me, or they don't speak the same language, or they don't have the same religion. Killing women and children is a bitch move in general. And in this case, in particular. So we're killing women and children. We're not gaining anything out of it. We're spending an ass ton of money at a time when our economy is in the toilet. One of the worst economies in my lifetime already. We're there. The housing market crash after the Bush economy, for sure. At least in my lifetime. Okay, so and I brought those points up last episode, last show. Gas is up, eggs are up, everything's up. Everything's going to continue to go up as it slowly filters out into every aspect of our economy and our life. And not so subtle reminder that the trader-in-chief did tell us it would all be better as soon as he walked into office day one. Just like he told us, you, that we won the war on day one. At this point, are you not tired of the stupidity and the ass-hattery? I am. Apparently, some of his cult members are not. Let me wrap this final larger point. And maybe in a future show, I'll get really, really specific with what I'm talking about when it comes to China, its growth, and its insertion into the global economy. As of right now, we are the largest percentage of the world economy when compared to every other country. But just some simple statement of fact. 1.4 billion people reside in China. That is a monolith of potential. And that is a monolith of possibility when it comes to the global economy. And my point is, China is rising in scale and percentage of the global economy. And it's only going to continue to rise. And it's a finite pie. If we pull back, we will lose allies and lose market. The trade wars, the tariffs are turning off our friends and allies and turning them away. And when we do that, we lose market. We lose market share of the global economy. And what that'll end up doing to us is harming us in ways long-term that cannot be recovered from. That is where we are. As China, in a very subtle, very savvy, very nuanced way, is right there to clean up and to take and add to their percentage, add to their global market share. That's all going on right now. And I think, and I'm going to kind of finish on this point, like I probably will, as we're speaking about, I probably will do a show specifically on the countries and the monies that are spent throughout the globe that China is, apologies for that, that China is involving themselves in all over the world, all over the globe, and show you how and why. Okay, but just suffice to say again, for right now, that is taking place. And it's all taking place while we, the United States, begins our loss of market share of the global economy. If we pull back, they gain. It's that simple right now in this moment. If we pull back, they will continue to gain. And pulling back doesn't mean, oh, Well, we're not pulling back because we're attacking Iran. That's not a good gain. That's not a good stay in the fight. I'm talking about our allies. I'm talking about our friends. I'm talking about making friends. I'd like to have the whole world be our friend. Obviously, that's not doable. Never. But I would I'll use that line. And my dad's the one that used to tell me this all the time. He had great one-liners. He said, Sabas, get me home. It's better to have more friends than enemies. One of the simplest things you could say, one of the simplest things you can state, but so applicable and true. My dad died over 40 years ago, but it's still true today. Still true today. It's better to have more friends than enemies. Why would you want to go create enemies? And he used to say all the time, you have a lot of enemies, you're going to get your ass whooped a lot. You have a lot of friends, you're probably not getting your ass whooped a lot. Sage advice. It's literally some Socratic street shit right there. That's Socrates on the street. More friends than enemies, you're probably not getting your ass whooped as much. You have more enemies than friends, you're probably getting your ass whooped a lot. True business. Okay, so in a way, what I'm asking you to do, we're on Thursday, we're going into the weekend. Monitor that. Keep an eye somewhat on what's going on in China at our time that we're visiting there in our state visit. But while Xi is basically playing Trump like a fiddle, like a fool, China is doing business with Iran right now, including and not relegated to economy or economic items and values, but also materially in the form of selling their weapons. Their weapons are different than ours. They're different than ours. Their weapon systems are slightly different than ours, manufactured by them. But China is currently selling weaponry kind of all over the world, including to some of our former allies that would normally buy from us. And think about that. As I just stated a few minutes ago, market share. Their military market share is increasing in relation to ours. That hasn't happened since, again, the World War II era, post-World War II era. That's going on right now. China is selling weapon systems and weapons all over the globe, including to, and not relegated to or limited to, our allies and former allies that maybe are not allies anymore. That's a problem. And I'm going to finish the point overall. Like I said, maybe I'll do something specifically on just China itself and its growth, its rise, its insertion and increase in the global market economy and the global military economy. I think that maybe needs to be done. But as I finish up this point tonight in pointing that out to you, be aware and be cognizant of the fact that as we speak, China is conducting business with Iran, the people that we attacked, the country that we attacked. They're conducting business with them right now. Money's moving. Weaponry, intelligence for sure. I can tell you that we have gotten intel back saying or showing that China and Russia have helped Iran with intelligence and strategy, if not directly, then through their relationship. You know, I don't want to say they're allies. They wouldn't say that the same way, but Iran is taking advantage of and using the fact that it's in the interest of Iran and, both Russia and China to see the United States bogged down in a quagmire, in a mess, for those of you uninformed or uninitiated, uneducated, in a fucking mess in Iran. This was done day one, not. They're making more money, yes. We lost lives unnecessarily, yes. And we're still there with no end in sight. Because as I was reminded, and I'll remind you, in a war, in a fight, the enemy gets a vote. So you can go hit somebody and crack them on the jaw and feel good about yourself and say, okay, I'm good, and then walk away. But your opponent, your enemy, the guy you just hit on the jaw, cracked on the jaw, gets to say so. And I don't know about you, but if you crack me on the jaw, I'm not going to sit there asking you why you did it. I'm going to kick your ass in return immediately. You don't just get to walk away because you're done, you're tired, or you're moving on. Iran is not done, is my point. Iran is not done. They get a vote. They get a say in whether this fight is over. And as of right now, this fight ain't over. So dumb shit Trump can say, we're just about done. We already won on the first day. Oh, they're ready to negotiate. Oh, they're not. It'll make your head spin. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Again, the most illegal, the most unconstitutional, the most incompetent war ever conducted by an American president. Period. Period. He will be studied in college classrooms for his incompetence and ineptitude as a commander-in-chief. He will be the blueprint for how not to conduct oneself as a president of these United States. Quote the Raven on that shit. If not, remind me to get back to China specifically. They are interesting in how they've done it. They've taken notes from us over the last 30, 40 years, meaning how we did it, how we rose to be the world's superpower, the only superpower. They've taken notes and they've implemented some of the very strategies that got us to where we are as the world's superpower. They're not stupid people. They're smart. They know what they're doing. And to play with them and to not take them seriously is utterly stupid. Stupid. To placate them, to try to play games with them, to try to kiss their ass and make everything nice and call them your friend and and everything's going to be great because I called you my friend. Bullshit. Doesn't work that way in foreign policy, foreign politics. Not with a world power. They will play you like a fiddle and then they'll break the shit over your back. Pay attention to what goes on this weekend. My only hope, and this is the God's honest truth, I'm literally just praying that dumb shit doesn't do anything incredibly stupid, more so than what he has already done or what he was capable. I would like it to be a boring meeting, a boring state visiting. Get the hell home so you don't embarrass us any more than you normally do. That's what I'm praying for. And that would be better for all of us Americans. Just don't embarrass us too bad. Please. Just get your fat ass home, go have a burger, and go talk shit on Truth Social. Moving on. I have pointed out, and I put toward the back in here, and we can end up being doing this for quite a while, actually, but I've been talking about this for a bit with friends and just like kind of vetting and getting to understand. And they're like, where do we go with this? How does this finish? How does it end? Meaning the Trump heresy of a presidency. And I said, the only way this ends is us fully into our decline as a country and as a people, or, and I'm not optimistic about the possibility in terms of percentage opportunity, percentage chance, or there is a possibility, although not great, albeit not incredible. I would give it a 20 to 30% chance. And every day that goes by might shrink a little bit. We either end up fully into our decline as a country and as a people, or the alternative, the good, positive alternative is we end up stronger after Trump's fat ass is out of office. And that's the A word that I've placed in the title tonight for Supermex Nation tonight. Accountability. And here's why and where. I'm a firm believer. I have been. I've said that before, documented, recorded on this show and in other ways, that I'm a firm believer in the United States Constitution and the principles upon which it was founded. The principles. More than anything else, the belief and the words. Because the words are ideal, idealistic, idealism. The words matter if you adhere to them. The words matter if they resonate and they're locked in. They're in black and white for the world to see forever. They matter. So I'm a firm believer in the United States, and I've said this before, and it's true. I believe in our ability, because of the document and its fluidity, the Constitution and its fluidity, its amorphous nature, our ability to self-correct, our ability to make mistakes and correct them, our ability to see sins of the past and correct them, And as I say those two things in the span of a few breaths in one sentence, even the stupidest of persons that went through a school system in the United States would understand that we have done that. We have done that. Some of the obvious cases being the simple Civil War and slavery. We corrected. We self-corrected. We had amendments to our Constitution. We saw things that needed to change, and we changed them. Well, women's right to vote. Self-correction. Ladies and gentlemen, self-correction. And a whole host of other, those are just some notable ones, right? Slavery, bad. Women can't vote, bad. And there are a bunch of others. Those are most notable because they're identifiable and easily understood. They directly affected the lives of all Americans forever going forward. Our ability to self-correct, to correct the wrong that we've committed or correct wrongs that were committed in our past and fix them. That is what I believe in when it comes to the Constitution. But underlying all of that, underlying all of it, for me personally, and I'm hoping for you, generically speaking, all of you out there, whoever's listening for right now, tonight, or in a listen later, all of that self-correction amounts to and is laced in, wrapped up in, part of accountability. It's accountability. We held this country and its leadership responsible when we gave women and gave them the ability and the right to vote. That's accountability. We were wrong when this country started in not allowing women to vote. And again, I've said this before, not all the founding fathers are evil. They just didn't know better at their time, right? Some of them, a lot of them. But self-correction, we corrected that. We had a civil war. This country went to war. Hundreds of thousands of lives lost. Wasn't all about slavery. It was about states' rights too. Okay? But we self-corrected. We made the decision consciously that it was not right to count a human being as 3/5 in a constitution. And that a color of skin dictated what that person amounted to in a humanity, whether they were human like us or not. That's self-correction. That's accountability. And we may look back on this Trump window, this Trump period, this Trump heresy, as an example of lack of accountability. We're going to finish up by 45 to 50 tonight. And I'm going to hit you hard and heavy with this. Pay attention here as we finish up. This window, this heresy of the Trump presidency, and I'll draw the through line for you. I'm old enough, not quite that old, but old enough to know that in my opinion, if not in fact, Richard Nixon's lack of accountability for the things that he committed as a president, the crimes he committed as a president, and the lack of accountability on him has resulted in a presidency in the form of this orange sack of traitor getting away with whatever they want at the highest office in the land. No man is above the law. Yes, that's in fact going on right now. We do have a man above the law because nothing was done to Nixon. He got away with it. His crimes pale in comparison to what Trump's doing right now. It's not even close. Exponentially worse, gross, all of the above. And there'll be more when we find out after this mess is done. There'll be more that we don't even know about right now that he's doing, that he's getting away with, that are illegal or immoral or unethical, all the above. We didn't punish Richard Nixon. We failed as a people. We failed as a country to lay accountability on the highest office in the land and remind them that they are representatives of us, not the other way around. We did not hold a president to account. And look at the shit we're in now. If there is no accountability, then people like me start to disbelieve in the principle, in the ideal, in the fundamental of what we were when we started this thing, this experiment that's nearly 250 years old. We failed and have failed to hold people to account, got away with it, and what a surprise. Someone down the road did the exact same thing and more and worse and worse. And that is where we are. When you begin to lose guys like me and we begin to not believe anymore, if there is no accountability, then don't come preaching to me about what America is. Because I'll tell you to go fuck off. Because that's not America to me. Where one guy can get away with whatever the fuck he wants and the rest of us have to literally suffer, pay higher gas prices, pay higher food prices, struggle just to survive, watch friends, family, and others lose their jobs, lose money, scale back, cut back on where they go, what they do. Lose health care, lose Medicaid. I can go on and on. That's all right now. That is all right now. Watch people slaughtered in the street like animals, shot in the face, 10 times shot in the back. Watch people that look like me get deported for no goddamn good reason. That are actually working the fields, working the land, helping feed our people, Americans. While others sit in ivory towers on their fat asses, eating the work that others have provided for them. If a guy like me starts disbelieving, then it is done. It's over. We are in decline. And the only way we get out of it, the only way we survive, and with the possibility and the beauty of getting stronger is with accountability. Is with accountability. And as I finish up tonight, a little heavy, a little wordy, but it's going to stick in your mind when we're done tonight if you're watching up to this point or if you're coming in later to watch later. If there is no accountability, this thing is done. We still have the possibility. This guy has to pay a price. He has to suffer for the shit that he's done to this country and the people in it. He has to pay a price for protecting sex traffickers and pedophiles. I'll keep bringing it up because if others fail to, I will. The Epstein files are still there. And this Department of Justice under Donald Trader Trump is not doing a damn thing to go after the people in those files that trafficked little girls. Sick fucks. They're still out there, and we're not doing a damn thing about it. Donald Trump will do nothing about it. His Department of Justice will do nothing about it. And if you're still with them and protecting that shit, you're a sick fuck too. Accountability. If you can't have accountability for that, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with us as a whole if we allow it and are okay with it. And he gets away with that too. I've said plenty, cursed a little more than I wanted to, but everything I've said to you is true. It's true. You just have to make a decision whether you're okay with it and whether you're willing to do something about it. And even though I've said on the prior episode that I can't change some of the things that I see that I would like to change and snap my fingers and make them happen and remove the crap that goes on and the things that we're seeing, the criminality, the bullshit, the immorality, the unethical conduct, that word doesn't even mean shit to them. They don't give a damn. I'd love to do something, but I'll do what I can. And to uniformly think that you can't do something is wrong. We can all do something. You just have to find your way to that something that you can do, whatever the hell it is. But to do nothing means that we accept and we're okay with the president that protects pedophiles and sex traffickers. As we watch right now, at this moment on May 14th at 7:19 p.m. We watch. If you're okay with that, you're probably not watching my show. Please don't. If you're not okay with that, let it fester, let it sit, and then think. Reminder, the show for the thinking Mexican, a show for the thinking American. Think about what you can or cannot do. Think about what you can make happen. Think about what you can say. Think about what you can bring up. Think about how you can vote. Think about how you can get other people to not be okay. Think about how you can call out that dumb shit in your family that talks crap all about President Trump and thinks he's the greatest thing that ever hit the earth just because he wants to be different and wants to say that that guy's badass. Think about that. Do it within your own home. Do it within your own family. Do not tolerate pedophile and sex trafficker protectors. That's how you can do something. Just tell them flat out. You with Donald Trump? I'm not with you. You may be related to me, my brother, my sister, my cousin, my whatever. I don't give a shit. If you're okay with protecting a sex trafficker, I don't want to see you. Get the fuck out of my house. That's Supermex Nation. We do things. We don't just sit on our ass and do nothing. We say something. Be that. Be Supermex. Be a super Mexican that will not tolerate crap, garbage, and shit. Throw it out. Throw it out. Pay attention on the weekend. See how this goes. We'll be back on the Tuesday. Number love for you. I'll see you next week.